The views and opinions expressed in this podcast do not necessarily reflect those of Into the Pit or the Vibes Broadcast Network. This show is intended for mature audiences. Please welcome your host, Coyote Knight.
Welcome everyone to Into the Pit. I have here Arcane Investigations out of North Carolina. So please introduce yourselves.
I am Frank. I'm the owner and lead investigator of Arcane Paranormal Investigations here based out of Swansboro. I'm sitting here with two of my team members, Sam and Austin. Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
I'm Sam, and that's about it.
You really should not talk so much.
I'm Austin, relatively new to the team. We came from New Mexico and just moved here probably about 6 months back. So we've been doing several investigations with him here and definitely getting into the world of paranormal.
So what made you decide to do that?
Well, I'd actually done a few kind of impromptu investigations, I guess you could say, in my past. We'd go to places that were deemed haunted, me and a few family members of mine, and we'd just kind of check them out, video and take pictures and all that good stuff. Went to a place whenever I was about 22, 23. It was called the Antioch Church. It's outside of Lovington, New Mexico, and that was the first big time that I really felt something pretty intense there. Won't go too much into that, but it definitely made me a believer at that point. My mother's always kind of had stuff around her ever since I was real young. My family, unfortunately, dealt with black magic, and so we always had, entities around us. So we're pretty used to it in my family. She's kind of getting more into it now because she's now joining my family, so she hasn't had that much experience with things, but yeah, I've always kind of had a predisposition towards that end of things, just because I've always had them around me and my family. So I've decided to kind of join this crew and see what we can find out, see if we can help some people with their end of it, and so far it's been going pretty well.
Have you made that? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was supposed to just be him that first night, but I was so excited and I just had to be a part of it that I was like, ask him if I can come along. I'd really like to just figure it out. I just want to go and hang out with you. And it led into something really cool.
And they actually came on a really good investigation too.
Oh, okay. You got to tell me.
Okay. Well, it's a Blue Water Linen Company here in Swansboro. Basically, what they do is they clean linen for rental companies, or for rental houses. They do.
Okay.
The owner, Carmelo, and I think I'd say he's up there in anarchy, but he reached out to me. My son works there. My future son-in-law works there. They'd always come back with stories of what's going on in there during the day. They've had poltergeist activity during the day, seeing apparitions walking around during the day, disembodied voices, stuff like that. And I was like, well, see if I can get in there. So they basically gave me the key to the place now. And we went in there, me and my son, on night 1, night 2. Didn't really capture a lot of stuff. It was kind of like the spirits were trying to figure out who we were because no one's ever investigated there. Night 3 and 4, Sam and Austin joined me. his brother joined us on night 4, but we started encountering shadow figures in there walking around. They weren't just walking around; they were standing there, staring at us, trying to figure out who we are. You know, we were able. I sent you the one picture that we caught of the apparition that we captured there, and I'm still researching the land, trying to figure out what was there back in the 1750s, 1800s, prior to this building being built in the 1960s. No deaths have been recorded in that place. We don't know if it's a nun, a sailor, or a mid-1800 preacher guy that we captured there. So there's 3 things we're going off of right now. We caught a buttload of EVPs in there that night. There is one shadow figure that is aggressive in there that we found. They can elaborate more on that, because me and his brother weren't really able to see it where we were, but they can elaborate on the movement of that one, of what happened.
Yeah, we were kind of sitting on the ground, sort of letting things, kind of just watching things, seeing how they were going. And I was looking off in one of the corners, and there was like a bin that was, I don't know, about waist height. And I kept seeing what looked like a head just kind of popping up over it a little bit, and thought it was weird. And out of the corner of my eye, after it popped down, there was just this tall figure, 6-7 feet, real skinny looking, it was just a shadow. And I sat there and I was watching it for a minute, and I tapped onto him and was like, hey, do you see this? Is this just in my mind? You know, what do you think? And he saw it, and about the time he looked over, it started walking towards him and my brother-in-law. And I mean, it went so quick. It was glided.
Yeah, essentially, as soon as I noticed it, she had tapped me and said, you know, do you see that? And I was like, yeah, you know, I see that, because I noticed it probably about 15 seconds prior to her tapping me. And I was sitting there watching it for a minute, and for a while it was just sitting there. And my brother and him were sitting kind of catty corner to us, so they were to our left, and this thing was basically directly across from us. And so I'm sitting there watching it, and she's watching it as well. And all of a sudden it just starts moving towards them. And I just had this pretty dark feeling about it, that almost like it was up to no good kind of feeling, you know. And and it got up to them, and it was like right up on them, you know. And it kind of freaked me out, so I shined my light over there. Of course, you know, with the light shining, there's nothing there. And at that point, my little brother, starts to say, you know, his chest is feeling real heavy. And so I guess whatever it was going towards them for whatever reason. But just a little bit prior to that, before I noticed it, she was noticing the head popping up. And that's whenever it kind of presented itself over towards those bins. And it just slowly worked its way over to them, and I had kind of a bad feeling about it. And mind you, this thing that was in that area, we had felt its presence before already. There was this back room in the building that we were investigating that we had kind of gone into, and we noticed at first, you know, that it was kind of going up to the room. It was kind of cold, you know, much colder than it was outside even. And so we went up to the room, and as soon as you enter this room, it was like somebody had hit the dampener almost, like the sound and everything just completely changed. And you would just get the worst feeling being in there, as if whatever's in there does not want you in there. And so we kind of stayed clear of that room for the most part just because of that. But we decided that night to go ahead and sit back by that room and, just sit in the dark and see what we could take pictures of and see what we could get video of, and see if we could get any EVP or anything like that. And we were sitting there for a while, and that's whenever she kind of noticed the little head popping up. And then shortly after that, that figure, and it was, I mean, I'm 6'1", and that figure was probably about a foot taller than me.
Wow.
Yeah, and we had noticed it there, and it just slowly started working its way over to them. I just had this bad feeling, like, I didn't want it to get to them because I didn't know what was going to happen when it did. So I shone my light over there, and at that point, my little brother, he was telling me that, as soon as I shined my light over there, his chest just got super heavy, as if there was like something weighing on his chest. And then from that point, we kind of sat there for a little bit longer, just to see if we could see anything else. But shortly after that, we kind of left the area just to leave whatever was there alone and see if maybe that figure would, if we called to it, if it would come up towards the front of the building.
Mhm.
And it never did. It would never come to the front of the building. It very much liked to stay towards that back room.
Yeah.
It was almost as if it was protective over that back room.
Yeah. So the owner and the general manager of the company wants us to go back and focus on that area. Kind of poke the bear now when we go back. Be a little bit more towards the investigations on that individual only. So we're going to go in there and provoke a little bit, poke the bear a little bit, because they want to know what its intentions are. Why is it there? Who is it? And because it was pretty aggressive. It turkey peeked over those bends and then came around and just rushed up on the two of us, kind of like flexing his muscles, like, hey, this is my area, get out of here. And that room, I walked in that room first before them in the pitch dark. And it was the energy in there. The hair on my arm stood up immediately. Back of my neck stood up. I could feel my hair moving a little bit on my head. The energy was so strong in there. So we're gonna go back. We're gonna poke the bear a little bit, and we're gonna see where it leads us to, and hopefully we can get some answers from them.
Yeah. And you never know. There might be a specific reason why it's protective over it. Maybe something very important to them was there.
Yeah.
Got to be really careful when you deal with that.
That portion of the building area there was an extension that they built on over there later on in the years. So that's why I want to try to find the information on what was there prior to that building, because they weren't having this kind of activity until this extension was built on. So there's got to be something connected to the land there that it will not leave that area and come into the old part of the building. It'll stay only in that new extension that was built. So it's got to be connected with the land somehow. But as soon as I find those answers, though, then we'll know what we're dealing with, and know how to deal with it. Maybe there's a body buried there underneath from the 1850s, and all we need is just get a man of cloth to come in and bless the whole building, bless that spot or something, and put that person at ease. But one activity we were getting was, one thing we do is, if we make contact with the spirit and that spirit communicates to us that it needs help crossing over, we'll do what we can to help that spirit cross over. And we did make contact with the female spirit on night 3 that indicated she needed help crossing over. And she was just one of those lost spirits, that you encounter. And so at the end of the night, I went through with my holy water, did some prayers and blessings, for this female spirit. And we were getting a lot of EVPs from her, a lot of communication from her. We go back night 4, nothing from her. So it was kind of like, you know, we helped her, you know, ease her pain and helped her cross over. So we know that's one spirit that we know of that we helped, that we were able to help cross over to the other side and be at rest now.
Yeah, it's really important when you get into this is, you know, you of course you show the utmost respect to not only the property owners, but to whatever entities might be there.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can help them, I mean, that's a lot of them, that's all they want. They need somebody to hear them and to, you know, help them along, where you get some groups that just, they come in and it's just the thrill of, oh, we got a ghost here, but nobody wants to take the time to see what's the problem.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that when we go back within the next week or so there, you know, it could be a situation where, you know, it's like the lost boy from Peter Pan. He lost his marbles, you know, so we just got to find the marbles and, you know, give them back so that person can be at rest now, you know. So I'm hoping that we're going to be able to do that for this entity.
I think we've all lost our marbles to get into this in the first place.
Oh yeah, it takes
Just a little bit.
It takes it honestly, and you could agree with this. It takes a special person to be able to go into a pitch black environment and walk around and not know what's standing behind you or what's standing to the left or right of you, and then suddenly
beside you.
Suddenly you get touched, and you know you're jumping around in circles now, in excitement, fear, scared, all at the same time, you know, because you're in the pitch dark and something touched you. You know?
Yeah, you take a risk. I mean, you get scratched. I've not only been scratched, but I've had something attach itself to me where it made me physically ill.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I didn't know that that's what had happened. I went to 3 different doctors and took test after test after test. Nobody could figure out what was wrong. And it took a medium to actually tell me this is why you're having the problems you're having.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's like my wife. She goes, "Why do you always sleep every night with a rosary wrapped around your hand?"
Mm-hmm.
I'm tired of it hitting me in the head at night, you know.
Getting a helper again.
Yeah. And
yeah, you know, I love you too.
You know, I do that every night. You know, I have a half a gallon of holy water and anointed oil right there next to my bed. You know, I put the sign of cross of holy water on my head every night before I go to bed. I wrap a rosary around my hand every night before I go to bed. I say a prayer every night before I go to bed, you know, and it's some things that some people don't understand why, you know, and that's kind of how my wife is. She's not a skeptic, but she is a skeptic. Mm-hmm. She's just very protective from family members.
Yeah.
For like what we were having going on in our home several months ago with that entity. She couldn't experience it like I was experiencing it because she had her grandmother there. She had her aunt there. She had relatives that's passed on that were there that was putting that veil up to where she couldn't see it. She couldn't experience it. And she's like that sometimes when she goes on locations too. You know, I don't feel nothing. I don't see nothing. You know, that's because you're protected.
Yeah.
You know? And so she kind of understands it. She kind of don't understand it. You know, but when we went to Stonewall Jackson's camp where he got shot at up in Virginia, we're up there and she saw her first apparition. We all did. And it was a Confederate soldier from the stomach down walking across the field. You could see the boots, you could see the gray pants, everything. And I got my mom hanging out the window of a car, screaming and yelling at us, telling us to get our butts back in the car because they're seeing it too. And then we see it and it goes behind a tree and never comes back out again. You know, so that right there kind of solidified it for me to get into the paranormal. And that happened 8-9 years ago. And so that kind of solidified it to me right there. You know, yes, there is really something after death now. And then that's when I really started getting into it and stuff. And then plus when I was younger, my grandmother passed away, and I was sleeping in my bedroom, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and she's standing there, full body apparition right there in my doorway, looks at me. I get up, I follow her. She goes into my parents' bedroom, looks at her. My sister and the kids were staying the night that night, so they were all scattered throughout the living room. And she walked into the living room, looked at all of them, walked into the kitchen, and that's when I stood in the middle of the living room and I started yelling grandma, and ran to the kitchen, and she was gone.
Whoa.
And never seen her ever since then. And it was just one of those things where she was just coming to us to see if we're okay for her to be able to cross over. You know, that was like her unfinished business. Never heard a peep from her ever since then, my whole entire life. And I was like 13, 14 years old, somewhere around there. Never happened again. You know, so I know that if I'm in trouble, I know she'll be there. She'll come. You know, so I know I'm protected by her, you know, in some sense. But it's very interesting, you know, especially when I talk to clients and I tell them, you know, in the spirit world, they know when things are going to happen before we know it's going to happen for some reason. And I was trying to explain to the lady today with the investigation, with the dream I had, her house, everything like that. She goes, well, how do you know that? I go, because they know already. They know you're coming. They know what day you're going to be there. You know, if they don't want you there, they're going to set obstacles up, you know, which you may find they're coincidences, you know, a flat tire, or your wife suddenly got sick and you got to go to the hospital now. You know, no, they're putting these things in motion because they don't want you to go there, you know. And I try to tell that to people on the team, you know, when we're going to an investigation and it's going to be a tough investigation, things are going to happen, you know, like these two here. They might be getting into an argument or fight for no reason, you know, just because they don't want to go, you know. So, you know, things get set in motion for a reason. And I call it destined and predestined is what I call it, you know. And it's probably happened to you before.
Oh yeah, especially the dead batteries. I can't tell you how many times something like that's happened, whether it be the car or I've been charging stuff all day, checked it before we left, and then we get there and it's dead. You know, there's always something that happens. You know, the funny thing is I do another show where I interview people that have positive, you know, stories and, you know, inspiration, motivation. I do those. Nothing happens. Everything seems to go pretty good. But when I do my paranormal shows, every time when they're over, something happens.
Yep.
Something always happens in this house.
Something's gonna.
You know, we have an entity of what we think is as a child, and some days it'll be very active, but for most part here lately it's been pretty quiet. But I guarantee you, when this is over, I will see his little head pop up over the stairs, or something's going to happen.
I'm gonna do something.
Okay.
I'm just gonna get my EVP recorder and just let it record.
Sounds like a plan.
And I'm gonna see after this is done. I'll listen to it and I'll see what pops up on it. You know, because I've heard situations where people are doing podcasts, and there's one guy that does a podcast all the time, and I don't know why I didn't when we first connected, but he runs his EVP, and he'll always catch EVPs during the podcast.
Maybe I need to do that from now on.
You know, and stuff like that, and plus plus some people too will run a full spectrum camera, a video camera, or a night vision camera or something like that running it, and they'll catch balls of energy and stuff like that. You know, I won't say orbs, because orbs is like the biggest skeptic thing that people can point at, but You know, if it's floating across that screen and it's flashing, it's a ball of energy. You know, you can't say no, that's a bug. No, a bug ain't gonna flash off and on and change colors. It's going across the screen. You know, but I try to stay away from the orb theory as much as possible, unless it's connected with a shadow figure or something trying to manifest, or, you know, an actual apparition you caught. You know, then I can connect two and two. But if I take a picture and it looks like an orb storm, no, it's just a bunch of dust particles flying around.
Yeah,
You know?
those are one of those real iffy kind of things that I don't like to show those to clients.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you can usually explain those ways. Sometimes you'll get those that you can't, and I won't mind sharing that, but I also tell them, hey, you know what, this could be nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, because
Never know.
that's the one thing too, is I always try to tell people, you know, if they're getting in this field, try to take a photography class. So even if it's just, you know, do it yourself online class or whatever, it'll teach you about camera flares, you know, what to look for, you know, and everything like that through a lens. So then you can say, yes, that isn't a red orb flashing by on that person's head. No, it's a camera flare. You know, there's two different things, you know, so it's always good to keep yourself educated and stuff like that, you know. And talking about education, you know, you go to, if people go to paranormalclergy.com, you know, and if they don't know about it, you know, it's an organization that Bishop James Long put together to help out paranormal teams, you know. So they're not walking into something over their head, you know, so they're not walking into something that is demonic or something very mean or something like that. You know, the team can go to the paranormal clergy, send them an email, send them some evidence and stuff like that, and they'll help you and they'll tell you, you know, what direction to go into if you have questions, you know. And if they see it's leading into something demonic, then they'll send a team down to help you with the investigation, and you kind of stand in the shadows, let them do their thing, and they'll determine if it's, you know, something demonic. You know, a regular paranormal team can't say, yes, that's demonic, you know, because you don't know if it's demonic or not. You're not that experienced to deal with something that's demonic anyways. You know, that's above any paranormal team's wheelhouse, you know. And if you're going to be the person where you're going to call something demonic and go in there and try to do it yourself, and go in there and try to do house exorcisms, or go in there and try to read the first rite, you know, you're going to open up doors that you ain't going to be able to close, you know. And there are teams or a team that does that in our area, you know, and it's something very, very dangerous you're playing with, you know. You're not only playing with your clients' lives now, you're playing with your team members' lives. You're playing with their families' lives now, because you're thinking you can do something that you can't do, you know. Only person that can deal with something demonic is a man in the cloth. That's it. You have to have a certain spiritual connection to deal with something demonic and to get rid of something demonic, you know. And if you're not a man in the cloth that has that connection to God, that spiritual connection, you can't do it. It's out of your hands, you know.
Sure.
So that's why Bishop James Long came up with this paranormal clergy to help out paranormal teams, you know. And I'm hoping that people will see this podcast and start looking into the paranormal clergy, you know, and start using them for help and guidance and stuff like that, you know, because that's what we do. You know, if there's something that we feel that we can't handle, we'll reach out to people and get their expert opinion on it and stuff like that. So then everybody stays safe. And the paranormal clergy through Bishop James Long has a curriculum also set up. And it's not some of the curriculum that you would see online where $200, $300, $400, $500, you know, to learn about demonology or the spiritual aspect of paranormal and stuff like that. It's $45. You know, if you got $45 to spend, you go on there. It's a self-guided classes, and you got like 4 or 5 classes you go through that will help you identify, you know, everything in demonology, will help you identify everything in cryptozoology, in the spiritual world and paranormal world, period, you know. And then plus, if you want to spend a few extra dollars, you can have one-on-one sessions also with Bishop James Long, and go over webcam and ask him any questions you want and anything like that, you know. So, and all the money doesn't go to Bishop James Long. It goes to help the paranormal clergy. It goes to help families in need and stuff like that with hunger and stuff. So not only you're learning stuff good from one of the top people in the paranormal field, but you're also helping families out in need too also. So it's a pretty good organization that he was able to put together for paranormal teams.
So the first time that I ever dealt with a demon, you know how I got rid of it? It's called a divorce.
A divorce. That's exactly, that was my first demon that I encountered. My first demon I encountered was, I got rid of that through a divorce.
But yeah, all joking aside, you know, this is a serious matter.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, people shouldn't just go into this blindly or thinking, okay, I've seen every episode of Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventurers, and I can do the same thing they do. You don't see everything that's behind the scenes. You're only seeing bits and pieces of what they go through.
Oh yeah.
And number two, even they will tell you they're not experts at getting rid of these things.
Nope.
They have to go to people that are experienced in it.
Yep.
I'm fortunate enough that I do have a demonologist that works with us, and I have 2 psychic mediums that work with us. And you tell you, I was one of these people, I never believed in any of that mediums and psychics and stuff. I always thought it was some kind of, you know, a hocus pocus, you know, parlor trick, until I met the lady that works with us now, and she was able to tell me things that there is absolutely positively no way she could have known. She didn't ask me any questions. She just came right out and told me these things. And I mean, it's not something she could have looked on my Facebook page and found out about me. You know?
Like when I had this thing that was in my house that was pretty bad, we had a lady come in here. She's a very private lady. I won't give her name out or nothing, but she lives in our area. She's had this gift her whole life, but she turned it off. And then she came to our house and she kind of turned it back on. She wanted to get back using her gift a little bit. And she draws is what she does. And she woke up at 9 o'clock in the morning one day, the day she was coming to our house for the very first time. Never met her before. She started drawing a hairbrush, an old hairbrush. And so she drew it, came to our house. She drew a vanity that this hairbrush used to be on. And, well, this hairbrush was my wife's grandmother's hairbrush. The vanity that it used to sit on was the vanity that my stepdaughter has in her room, where at one time that hairbrush sat on that vanity for a very long time, because my stepdaughter was using the hairbrush. And so she nailed that one. And then the second thing she nailed, she'd never been in my stepson's room. So I was like, I was putting her to the test to see if she was real or not, you know, and because I'm a kind of a skeptic with mediums and stuff like that too. And So I put her to the test. Never been in my stepson's room. Took her into my stepdaughter's room that's right next to that room. I go, this is what I want you to do. I want you to draw. Actually, she didn't even, no, I didn't even ask her. She goes, hold on, before we do anything, and she just started drawing in her sketchbook. Drawing for about 5 minutes. She goes, okay, I'm done, I'm ready. I wanted to see if she can project herself out of body experience type. And she didn't know who was in that room. And so she did. She was able to project herself through her thoughts somehow into that bedroom. And she was able to see each person that was in there. She told me each person that was in that room. And what they were doing is they were looking at the security camera system that we had set up in the house for camera angles and stuff. And I go, well, I want you to try to touch the person that's sitting behind the desk. And she's in this room, and my stepdaughter's sitting on the bed and her hands going out. And she's like, I'm trying. I don't know if I'm touching it or whatever. Well, this person that was sitting in the chair twitched. He twitched. And she even said it. She goes, he twitched. I go, okay, you might have, some of your energy might have touched him, you know? So we go, and she goes, so we were done with that little session. She goes, can I go in there? And I was like, yeah, you can go in the bedroom. She goes in there, and she showed me the drawing. She goes, look, she drew every single computer screen. She even drew a pair of shoes that were on the floor. By the bed. She drew where each person was sitting on the bed and the person behind the computer screen. And I was like, okay, so you're pretty gifted, you know, if you can do that and never been in a room before. So I was impressed, you know. So I put her through the ringer that night. You know, I wanted to see what she really could do. And she was doing it. She was projecting herself into a bedroom, telling me where people were. She made a connection with this entity to where she was able to see it and see how it was moving, how it was shape shifting and stuff. And so she was the real deal. But she doesn't want to be drug into stuff. She wants to be very private and stuff with her gift, and you know. So I respect that, you know.
Yeah, that's understandable.
And what was amazing was that night, we're all sitting on the couch of my house, you know, just seeing the movements of what this thing's going to do. And 4 of us at the same exact time saw a serpent, transparent, with black triangle stripes, come out of the top of the door jamb, because the door was opened, came across the ceiling, circled, came across us. And it was over the top of us. And we were watching this thing move across the top of my ceiling in my house. And then out of nowhere, it was like God sent down a protector or one of our family members or what, but there was a full-blown white apparition that walked across the living room in front of us, and this thing retreated back into the bedroom, and this apparition walked into the bedroom. And then that was it. And then we're sitting on the couch again, and we all see it out of the corner of our eye. All 4 of us see this thing come out about door handle level with the door open, came out about a foot. It was a head of a serpent. It was as real as this computer in front of me, fully manifested. And it was completely black. We could see the eyes and the mouth of the snake. And it was probably a good, I'd say 16 inches in diameter all the way around. It came out about a foot, looked around, and went right back into the bedroom. And then later that night, the crawl space in the bathroom, we had it open. And one of the guys is like, what is that up there? and it's like a triangle orange thing, up in the crawl space there, you know. He was like, I'm gonna reach up there, I'm gonna see what that is. I was like, you reach your hand up there, it's gonna get bit off. And so we were joking about it. 6 o'clock in the morning, sun's already up. This thing was up inside the crawl space of the house during the day. And he was going up there to grab it, and it just went whoosh. I mean, as quick as you can blink your eye, it moved. And we just jumped back. And I was like, I told you, if you would put your hand up there, it would have got bit up. And so whatever I had in my house, it was mean. It was evil. It was pure evil. I won't call it a demon, So we came back 2 days later. We got that crawl space hatch, and we got the hatch in the hallway because they're connected through the crawl spaces. We sealed it and blessed it with anointed oil and holy water, and left it up there for 2 days. Couldn't come down. So the night that we cleansed the house real heavily to get rid of it, we blessed and sealed the bedroom doorway to where it couldn't come out into the living room or the rest of the house. I started to piss it off so much to a point to where we had to get it pissed off to a point to where we can actually, try to make it manifest so we can get rid of it, to let it use up its energy. And it started manifesting in the doorway in a gray shadow. In the darkness, we could see it. It had a head similar to the aliens on Independence Day. It had a regular human body. And I knew it couldn't pass that threshold because it was blessed. I stood toe to toe with it, me and this other guy, and it growled. It growled so loud we could feel the air go past our faces. And it pissed me off even more. And so I crossed the threshold and got into the room and started to just command it, trying to take control of it basically, and pushing it back. It was hissing, it was growling, it was pissed off, but it couldn't do anything to us because it used all of its energy to try to manifest. So we kind of had the upper hand at that time.
Right.
And I had attachments that was attached to me at the same time. So what we had to do was we had an alkaline salt bath made up in the bathroom in the hallway over there. And there was so much salt in it, my body floated. It couldn't even sit at the bottom of the bathtub. And so we kind of had to do two things at once. I had to get in that salt bath and submerge myself to detach the negative entities that were with me still, while everybody else was cleansing and getting rid of the main entity that was in the house. And it was weird because it was like a snap of a finger, and in a snap of a finger, the whole atmosphere of the house changed. You could breathe. It felt like being in a hospital atmosphere with the air and everything, clean air. You could breathe. It was a pretty amazing experience. I wish the team that I was with at the time, we got lucky with what we did, and I was always pushing the issue that we needed a man of the cloth to come in. But luckily, that team just got lucky that night in my house, of whatever we got rid of, and hasn't been back since, so, but it's when you experience certain things, and these two here eventually, the investigation we're supposed to do tomorrow, I believe they're going to experience things tomorrow night that they've never experienced before in an investigation, because we're walking into a home where the husband committed suicide for no reason whatsoever. 2 months leading up to his suicide, him and his wife never argued before. They were butting heads every day. They couldn't be in the same house together without arguing. I mean, to the point where they're almost throwing stuff at each other. Financially, they started going downhill. They got 2 children that are involved, 6 years old, 9 years old, 2 daughters. They got the ashes. He got cremated. They never got the ashes blessed or anything. They're literally sitting in a Ziploc bag.
Oh no.
You know, so there's a lot of factors that are coming in where there's a lot of stuff that's going on where I'll probably be reaching out to the paranormal clergy on advice on this one.
Yeah.
You know, once we gather evidence and stuff, because I don't think this is going to be one that I can handle on my own. You know, I might have to bring in a team from outside of North Carolina that's completely biased, maybe, to help me with this one too. You know, because it might be a little bit above our wheelhouse, might be above that team's wheelhouse too. You know, but hopefully we can figure it out. Let the family be at peace. Finally, let the husband be at peace. You know, because for the last week or 2 weeks, 666 has been popping up on everything with this wife. You know, whether it's just numbers coming up on phone calls. You know, oh, she gets a phone call, caller ID, it says 666. She's seeing license plates, one right after the other with 666. You know, all this stuff is coming together, you know, and I'd say it could be a coincidence. It could not be a coincidence. We don't know until we get in there,
Yeah.
you know, but hopefully it works out, you know.
You know, when you see numbers like that, I don't feel it's a coincidence.
Yeah,
The universe is trying to talk to you.
yeah,
You know, I'm a firm believer in that. And I know there's a lot of people out there that aren't, but the universe, it puts signs out there. You know, whether you want to call it God, angels, or just the universe itself, there are signs that are out there for you. The Bible will even tell you you will be given signs, and you just have to keep your eyes open for them.
oh yeah,
And you know, whether it be numbers like that, or you know, even seeing something like a feather, but you see the same feather, you know, over and over again, that's a sign.
yeah,
You know, there's all kinds of things. The best thing to do is, like I say, consult with somebody, especially associated with the clergy.
mhm,
If you can get a hold of a reputable psychic medium,
yeah,
they can always give you good advice.
yeah,
Remind me when we get done here. I want to give you the name of somebody I want you to reach out to and see if she'll be willing to help y'all.
okay, yeah,
Um,
definitely. I'll definitely take any resources, any help, you know, because it's not only benefiting us, but it's going to benefit the families that we're trying to help, and that's the main goal. You know, I don't care if I gather the most incredible evidence, you know, better than what Zach and Ghost Adventures have ever captured. You know, that don't mean nothing to me.
yeah.
You know, it means helping the family that we're doing this for. You know, the people we're doing it for. That's what it's about at the end of the night. You
Yeah.
know, to make sure they're at peace too. You
If
know,
if I can give any advice, and this is always, at least it's worked for me. If you have something, an object like a necklace, a ring, a bracelet, you know, something that you can put the right intentions into, and really and truly believe this will be part of your protection, it helps. It
hmm,
really does.
yeah,
If you are a part of this world, there's a lot of things that are, when I say this world, I mean the paranormal world. There are things out there that's hard to explain, and I've been one of those that's questioned everything. I've been skeptical about everything, and I have to see it for myself before I'm gonna believe it.
hmm,
I've seen it. I've been given that advice, and I try to heed that advice. Don't just shoo it away. Listen to these things. People that have been in it for years, you can get a little bit from everyone, and not everybody's going to steer you the right way.
Yeah.
You know, that's another thing when you're in this field. You've got those that are the dime a dozen. I saw it on television, so I can do it kind of people. And then you've got those that are really serious, and they
Yeah.
they educate themselves. And then,
Yeah.
you know, and education, like you said, is very important. You never stop learning. I don't care if you've been doing this for 40 years, you never stop learning.
Yeah. That's like all the stuff I gather, regardless what it is, you know, I'll try to send it out for copyright as soon as possible, all the time, because not only to protect the evidence we've gathered, but I also want to be able to protect the clients also, you know. So I'll never post something online, whether it's a picture, EVP, video, or anything, unless it's already shipped off to copyright, you know, because I want to make sure everything's protected. Because, you know, like you said earlier, we were talking, you know, you got the skeptics, you got the internet trolls and all them, you know, they'll take a picture off my Facebook page, off of Instagram, Twitter, somewhere. And then a year from now, you know, I'll just be looking stuff up and I'll come across a paranormal team and I'll see my thing on there. You know, I'm like, what are you doing? You know, it's not yours. Don't take credit for something you didn't do. Plus, you don't have the permission from these families that just went through this to be able to do that. Now it's circulated worldwide, you know, and I like to be able to have control of all the evidence to protect the families.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the main goal at the end, you know, is try not to post addresses, change the names if you can, you know, and stuff like that, you know. And I'll only send raw footage to individuals that I think I can trust, you know. And like the video I sent you, you know, before I sent it to you, believe me, I did an extensive check on you, you know, to see, you know, will I be okay to send this video to you to see privately, you know, and hope it don't get out anywhere, you know.
Yeah. So I shouldn't have put it on YouTube, did I?
No.
Doggone it.
Oh no. No, it won't be repercussions from me, but it'd be repercussions from that family.
Yeah.
You know.
You have to show them the utmost respect.
Oh yeah.
They're
Yeah,
trusting you to come into their home, and so they also have to be able to trust that you're not going to go out and you know use this to you know make you a name or
yeah.
you know that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
And
I mean, I always let my clients know, and I will make them sign something saying, you know, this footage is going to belong to me.
yeah.
But if you do not want me to post it or share it, then I won't do it. And you know, there are some that they don't have a problem with it, but then there are those like I'd
Yeah.
rather not. And so I respect that.
Yeah, like my media release form has all that in there, you know, that it's my stuff now. I'll use it how I want. But I also have a box on there that checks that says they have to check it and initial it if I can use it for whatever I want. Then there's another box on there where it says don't want you to use it for these reasons. No social media, no this, no that, but you can keep it privately, you know. And then I get a copy of it, plus they get a copy of it, you know. So there's no, you know, oh well, I signed this paper, you know, and he said he wouldn't do it, you know. Well, you have a copy of it, you know. Take me to court if you want now, you know, type of thing, you know. So I protect it all the way around, you know. But like Sam and Austin, you know, there's a spot I took them to the other night called the Boathouse Creek Trails is what it's called. And it's a spot where it's a very mellow, relaxing area. You know, it has a lot of history to it that dates back to 1750. I've been out there hundreds of times, for one main goal, to get evidence of this little girl, Kate, that died in 1899. She left her house on horseback, never came back. Her body was found face down in the water. And the horse came back to the house. That's how they knew something happened. But they found her body down by the water. And nobody's never been able to get any type of evidence on this little girl until I bring her down there. Kind of what happened at Blue Water for some reason. You know, she has a connection with the spirit world somehow that I figured out already. And she was able to make a really good, deep connection with this girl, Kate. You know, we've went out there before, and I've got EVPs, you know, of people introducing themselves to Kate, you know, trying to find out what her name is and stuff like that. And I give her the recorder, and I go, just ask whatever you want to ask. And she goes, hi, I'm Sam. What is your name? And you hear it in a little whisper of a girl, and it says, I'm Kate.
Wow.
You know, the first solid proof of evidence that has ever came out of that place of this little girl, you know. And then you can hear Kate through the EVPs, you know, wanting to play hide and seek, you know. And then I ask her the question. I go, Kate, how did you die? And she goes, and you can hear it clear as day. She goes, I'm not dead. She doesn't know she's dead, you know. And and the reason why I'm thinking that is because there's more to the story that even the historian of the area don't know, and we're trying to figure it out, but nobody knows how she died. So it must have been something very tragic, because she doesn't realize she's dead, you know. And then it hears me continuing asking another question, like, I'm sorry that you died at such a young age. And then you could hear her saying, thank you, you know. And this was probably what, 15, maybe 20-minute time frame.
Yeah.
That we were doing EVPs out there with you guys. And it was nothing but her. That was it. You know, earlier in the trail, you know, we picked up a man's voice, stuff like that, you know, but in this one specific area, which I won't say where it's at, because you're going to have other teams flocking to that area, you know.
True.
And
Don't oversaturate it.
yeah, but this one little area, you know, there she was there, you know, and she spoke to us, she made contact with it. And I don't think we would have been able to gather that type of evidence if Sam wasn't there.
You got the gift.
You know, I think she does. I think she has a gift, but she doesn't realize it.
You know, in actuality, everybody has a gift, but not everybody knows how to channel it or use it. And you don't know specifically what that gift is unless, you know, you work on it. So, hey, you need to consult with somebody that can help you, you know, harness that and expand on it, because you may be able to actually talk to them and they come to you and say, hey, I need to tell you this, and that'll help these guys out a lot too.
Yeah, I think her being new to it and everything,
Mm-hmm.
once she starts really opening herself up to the spirit world,
Yeah.
I think she's going to realize more things are going to start happening in her life, you know. And I probably guarantee one day someone's going to walk up to her and she's going to hear voices, and it's going to freak her out one day, you know. But it's somebody just trying to talk to her, you know. So because there are intelligent spirits out there where they just want someone to talk to.
Exactly.
That's all it is. And it really upsets me, you know, because Kate is very intelligent now. we know she's very intelligent spirit. And when we left, it broke my heart because I wish that I could just sit on a log, all three of us, and she could just manifest and stand there and have a full-blown conversation with us. You know, that's what I'm hoping. One day I'm hoping that a spirit will do that, to where we could just sit somewhere, be doing EVPs, and they just manifest and say, hey, you know, here I am. You want my story? Here it is. You know, and we sit there for 45 minutes talking to this individual, and in a blink of an eye, they disappear in a blink of an eye, and it's over.
You never know, bro.
Yeah,
You never know what can happen.
That's my one hope, my one wish, you know, that happens one day, you know. But I know myself, I don't open myself up that much to where I have that type of communication. You know, I can feel them, sense them and stuff, but I'll protect myself always to not open up that much, because you don't know if that 10-year-old girl you think you're talking to is a 10-year-old girl. You know, you don't know who it is. You know, it could be Crazy Willie that's an axe murderer pretending to be a little girl.
That's true too.
You know, and he just wants you to bring him home so he can wreak havoc. You know, so, and that goes into where people getting into this field aren't experienced, and they're walking into places and they think they know what they're doing, like you said earlier, because they've seen all 100 episodes of Zach Baggins and Demon House and everything, and they're like, oh, we can do this. You can't. You have to work yourself up to it.
That's right.
You know, and I always tell people, you know, if you want to get into the paranormal field, start off with little things. You know, go to a cemetery. You know, go to a cemetery, you know, go there, do some stuff. Work your way up as you go. Don't try to go from A to Z right away, because you're not going to like the outcome of it. You know, one, you're either going to walk away from the paranormal field completely, or it's going to ruin your life, your health, your marriages, you know, stuff like that. And it happens, you know, and you've heard it on Zach Baggins before. You know, they've had people get divorced, leave the show, you know, because of problems they've had or they've encountered and stuff. You know, they weren't ready for it, you know. But if you want to get into it and into the paranormal field, I tell everybody to do it. Try it, but start off small.
Yeah, I don't want to discourage anybody from that, because, you know, we all had to start somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying, don't go in there with that attitude just because you saw it on television and you think that you know what you're doing, because that's how I actually started out. I thought, oh, man, I've watched all, you know, 9 seasons of Ghost Hunters. I know what these guys do, and I try to do those same things, and then found out the hard way that's not how you do things. And, you know, go in, if this is my advice. I'm not saying everybody needs to do this. Go in as a skeptic. Try to find a reasonable explanation for why everything's happening. Because too many people go in and automatically think it's paranormal. It's paranormal. It's a ghost. It's a ghost. And it may be the simplest little thing. You know, I've done a place where they've had other teams show up and they said, man, we hear a voice at 2 o'clock in the morning. Every morning we hear a voice, and you can always hear it from the window upstairs, and you can hear a chair rolling across the floor, and, you know, all these things. And so we went to this place. I'm expecting all this great stuff to happen. Well, you know what happens at 2 o'clock in the morning? There's a bar like a block down the street that closes at 2 o'clock in the morning, and everybody comes out belligerent and drunk, hooping and hollering and, you know, talking real loud. Well, there's your voices that you're hearing.
Yeah.
You know what the
furnace turns on downstairs, and the heat's going through the pipes, and you're hearing whistling and hissing and growling, and you think there's a demon in the house, and no, it's loose pipes.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the heat traveling through it.
You know what what they thought was a chair rolling across the floor? freaking fax machine comes on at the same time every night and resets itself, and you hear the rollers on the fax machine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's little things like that, you know, and it's, to me, that's kind of fun when you get to figure out, oh, this is why this happens, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But every once in a while, you run across those things that you just cannot explain whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's like their house, you know, we're eventually going to get in their house and do a small little investigation because they have things that go bump in the night, you know, in their house and stuff, you know. So we're gonna get in there too eventually and get in there and try to get some answers for them too, you know, because we're not only doing clients' houses, but you know, if you got a team person that's having issues, you know, it's a family. You
Yeah.
know, you help them out too also, you know. So
Each other
I'm
out.
pretty excited about that one, you know, just going in there and seeing what they have, you know. What is some of the stuff you have in your house?
Well, the first week that we had moved in, I had a week in between where I got here and when I would go to work. He was off at work, and I was getting used to the time difference, and so I decided I was going to go ahead and take a nap that day. As I went to sleep, it was probably, I don't know, I was asleep. I don't know how long it was that I was asleep. I start hearing voices and like this like whispering in a voice, and it was a man's voice, and it was so just like real and right there that I woke up thinking he had already come home for the day and was talking to me. So I wake up and I look over at our dog, and he's staring right at the bedroom door. You know, he's not, you know, his hair isn't standing up, he doesn't look agitated, but he can hear something too. So I kind of peek my head out the bedroom door, and I don't see anything. And I mean, and there's been times where it kind of sounds like there might have been footsteps out there, but you know.
Gee, I heard footsteps today. Yeah, she was working today. I was home alone. And this has happened to me several times already. I'll be laying in bed, and my dog, he always sleeps with me. He's a big old pit bull Siberian Husky mix, so he's, you know, he cuddles right up on you. He's a big old dog, but he snores real loud. And you know, he'll be asleep next to me, you know, just snoring, just, you know, and he does this thing where he dreams too, where he'll start like, you know, and like yipping in his sleep and kicking his legs and stuff, you know. And you know, it wasn't last week, it was the week before last week. I was asleep, you know, it was probably about 2-3 in the morning. And she was asleep next to me, and I woke up, you know, kind of had a weird feeling, and I started hearing like the same thing she was talking about, like the whispering and stuff, just past my door out in the hallway. And my dog, you know, he's asleep next to me, just, you know, rolled over on his back, just snoring. And you know, you hear the whispering and stuff, and all of a sudden he wakes up out of, you know, a dead sleep and sits up real quick and is just staring right at the door, you know, just staring as hard as he can at it. And so I was like, okay, you know, that's kind of freaky. Like, go back to bed, Bubba, you know, pat him on the head, and he calms down and lays back down, but he wouldn't stop looking at the door. And then today I woke up late, you know, I didn't have any work, so I woke up real late and slept until probably about noonish. And you know, my dog's sleeping next to me, and I woke up, you know, was kind of groggy or whatever, so I, you know, looked at my phone and, you know, looked at the time and everything. It was just kind of waking up, you know, in the process of waking up. And then I hear footsteps down the hallway, and for a minute I thought that my fiance, you know, just got home. And you know, so I was kind of waiting for her to open up the door, you know, and my dog wakes up and just starts staring at the door like he was expecting somebody to come through too. And shortly after that, she ends up texting me, or no, she ends up calling me, and she said, oh, I might get off of work, a little early today and all that stuff. And so I'm sitting there thinking like, well, hell, she wasn't even here. I'm laying in bed thinking she's about to walk through the door, and all of a sudden she calls me. And so I, was kind of a bit freaked out at that point. And we'll be sitting in the house, and every now and then, you'll hear something or see something that just kind of throws you for a loop, that shouldn't, just something out of the ordinary, that kind of makes you think a little bit. But the other day, she was in the bathroom, and I was sitting in the living room, and I'm sitting there loving on my dog. He's sitting on the couch with me, and I'm loving on my dog. And we always keep, it was at night this time. It was probably about 9:30 at night or so. And we always keep our what's it called, our stove light on during the night, just so we could see, if we get up for a glass of water or anything like that, at night, we'll be able to see, it kind of gives a little bit of light down the hallway and everything. So, we always have that on. I'm sitting there loving on my dog, and she's in the bathroom, and all of a sudden I see like this dark figure just walk right across that light, and it blocks out the light from my vision for a second. And, then the light shines back on me. I was like, what the hell was that? And she's still in the bathroom. I was like, babe, something freaky just happened. It just kind of threw me off a little bit, because I'm sitting there just loving on my dog. Obviously, we live alone. There's nobody else that was there,
Right.
Or could have been there, and we have all the doors locked and everything. So there's no way anybody else was in the house. And all of a sudden, I see this just figure from the corner of my eye walk right in front of that light, block off the light for a minute from hitting my eyes, and then continue on. And, I look over there, and of course there's nothing there. But there was something obviously that went in front of that light that blocked off the light from my vision, and so it kind of jacked me up a little bit, because I can always deal with, going somewhere and investigating somewhere that's not my own house, but whenever I get them in my house, and I'm, like I said earlier, I've had plenty of times in my life where I've dealt with stuff in my house and, around where I live. Mainly because, my family, they practice the witchcraft, the dark witchcraft. And my mother was the first one to quit all that stuff. And she decided to actually move away from a lot of my family because they did all that stuff. And still, every now and then you'll go stay with my mother, and there's always stuff that happens around my mother. And, there's always stuff that happens around me as well, but I've kind of gotten used to it a little bit, but still every now and then, you'll see a little something from the corner of your eye, something blocks the light, or, you hear like a whisper or something that's right behind you or something. And it just, it throws you off. It's definitely a different feeling, especially when you're alone in the house, and all of a sudden you're hearing, whisperings and footsteps and stuff. And, we live in a relatively new house. It wasn't built that long ago. So, there isn't anything really fundamentally wrong with the house. It's not falling apart or anything like that. It's got new plumbing and all that stuff in it. So there's really no reason it should be making noises out of the ordinary. And to hear, as, outside the doorway, it throws you off a bit for sure.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah. And I always try to look for it was the air conditioner, or because our bedroom door sometimes will have a problem staying closed, and we do have a door hanger on there, but every once in a while, it'll be making sure it's shut, and it'll just go ahead and pop right back open again.
Yeah, it has this thing where you have to lift it up before it'll latch. And so if you just push it closed, it's pretty easy to open up, just with like the air conditioner or something like that. But if you pull it up and latch it closed, it's actually a struggle to get it open. You can go over there and try to pull it open, and it's not gonna budge, And there's been several instances where we've pulled it up and latched it closed, and it ends up, unlatching and just swinging open. And So, you know, we definitely know there's something in our house, but I'm not too worried about it. I can already tell you it's nothing like bad or anything like that. It, you know, you can always tell, you know, you can always feel it, you know, if it has a, you know, a very bad feeling or whatever, you can tell it's out for something. But, you know, if it's just there, you know, you normally don't have to worry about it, you know.
He feels like he's just kind of chilling out.
Yeah, I think honestly, I believe
Sometimes it's all it is.
yeah, I think it's just hanging out, you know, it wants to check us out every now and then, you know. And honestly, I can't tell if there's more than one in our house just because there's been times where I've heard the whisperings and it sounds like two people talking to each other, you know, like they're whispering towards each other, you know, with multiple voices. But so I'm not sure if that's, you know, the same entity, you know, whispering back and forth, or if it's, you know, two different entities, you know, kind of. I mean, obviously you wouldn't think so, you know, because I wouldn't figure most entities really interact with each other. But, you know, I really have no idea. So I'm pretty interested to, you know, kind of black out the windows and everything and go in there during the night and really do some investigating in the house, because we've definitely had quite a few instances already. And we've only lived there for what, 2 months? Yeah, about 2 months, 3 months maybe. And you know, we've already had quite a few instances already where, you know, it's kind of got us a little bit unnerved, you know, just stuff that really shouldn't be happening in the normal environment, you know, kind of happens, you know, and definitely throws you for a loop a little bit, especially because, you know, your home is supposed to be your safe place.
That's
You
true.
know, you know, you're supposed to have a good environment in your home, and you know, having something there that we're not quite sure what it is definitely can be unnerving at times. But I've felt for the most part that it doesn't seem to be negative. It doesn't seem to give off a bad vibe or anything like that. It just seems to be there. It just seems to be more curious, and you know, more curious than anything. Like it's kind of checking us out, you know. And so I don't have a bad feeling about it or anything like that. But you know, obviously I'd prefer that, you know, I didn't hear footsteps down my hallway whenever I'm alone in the house. Obviously, you know, one of these days, if somebody actually is in the house, I'm just going to ignore it, you know, because I'm used to hearing footsteps down the hallway. And,
Somebody
you know,
breaking in.
you know,
You didn't bring any aliens back from New Mexico, did you?
sure hope not.
If
No,
you did, tell them I'm ready to go. I got my bags packed. So
Yeah, aren't we all?
no, that is something that we're going to start branching out doing, since you brought up aliens. Is I'm very curious. I don't know if you heard of them, the Brown Mountain Lights here in North Carolina.
you know, I probably have. I've heard of a lot of different stories. So that may be on that list.
Yeah, it's an area of the mountains up here, northwest area up there. It's it goes all the way back to the ancient times with the Native Americans and everything, where it's documented, and even throughout the Civil War, even people that live in there. They have lights, green lights, red lights, white lights, that just appear out of the mountain for no reason. I mean, lights that are, you know, I mean, you'll be at a scenic view park watching these lights at night across the valley on the other side of a mountain, where they're the size of a car, and they just appear there for no reason. And so that's something that we're going to look into. You know, we want to not just do paranormal. We want to get into UFOs also.
So that's part of the paranormal world.
Yeah, we want to get into the crypto part of it. You know, Steve Barcelo up north here in North Carolina has a crypto museum, and he does a lot of Bigfoot and stuff.
Yeah.
So we want to start branching out and doing stuff like that too during the spring, summertime, when the weather starts getting a little bit better, you know, and start putting our stuff together, our footprint, you know, on that also, you know, because there's a lot more out there than just, you know, spirits.
You know, MUFON, I think, has different divisions in each state. So you might, you know, Google that and see if they do. and I'm sure they can point you in the right direction.
Yeah. And then another thing I was thinking about the other day, I don't know what your take on this is, but with everything that's going on in the world right now with COVID and, just everything, do you believe that the veil is getting thinner?
I really do. I honestly do. I think we're getting close to those end times.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this is the plague that's supposed to, be part of all that, but it's coming.
Yeah.
Whether we see it in our lifetime, I don't know, but those signs are starting to show.
Yeah.
And I do believe that veil between this world and the spiritual world is getting thinner and thinner.
Yeah.
A lot of mediums will tell you that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I just think because a lot more stuff paranormal's coming up. Just not in our area, but throughout the country, throughout the world.
Oh yeah.
A lot more negativity, a lot more negative entities, stuff like that's coming around now. And when I'm reading people's posts and following certain people, throughout the world too, Ireland, Scotland, and stuff, they're all talking about the same thing. A lot of it's negative, that they're dealing with and stuff. And that's where I was trying to come to the conclusion, is that veil actually, starting to shrink down a little bit now to where.
If you think about it this way too, a lot of entities feed off of negative energy.
Yeah.
And with everything that's going on, people are being locked up in their homes, basically. Oh, I hear myself.
Yeah, let me turn that off.
But there's a lot more depression going on right now.
Yeah.
People being stuck at home and that lack of human contact, basically. I can't tell you, I'm so sick and tired of going to the store and everybody's got to stay 6 feet away from each other. And if I'm on an aisle and somebody walks down, they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry." I'm like, "I don't care. You want to come down here? I don't even care if you're not wearing a mask. You want to walk down here? I don't care. I need to talk to a human being. I need to be close to a human being." And the suicide rate is going up in this country because people are depressed. Yeah, it's crazy. We've already had a couple close to where I live, just this neighborhood. And then you've got rioting and all this other stuff going on. There's so much negativity going on. And I mean, let's face it, with the election that went on this year, it's not over with yet. People think it's over with. It's not over with yet.
No.
And it doesn't matter who wins. It's going to be more negativity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's got to be bringing a lot of this on too. I mean, we've had bad stuff has gone on for centuries, but for some reason right now, that negative energy, I mean, you can't even, I guess because it's so easy to talk to somebody through social media and all the, all the other stuff like that.
Yeah.
That how many times do you get disgusted when you get on social media and people are just being ugly to each other, all because they don't have the same ideas or political views or whatever? I mean, I don't care if you lean left or you lean right. If we can get along, we should be able to get along and not have to agree on everything.
Yeah,
but that's not the way things are.
Anything, but...
Yeah, it's like people have drawn a line in the sand and say, you cross this line and we're going to have a problem.
Well, it's like when, if you think about it, our forefathers, when they came up with when they did the Continental Congress meeting or whatever it was to sign, the paper and all that, before any of that was on paper, they all disagreed. To the left, to the right, everywhere they disagreed. But they were able to come together and put it down on paper. And it seems like today in this world, you know, that's out the window.
Sure.
You know, it's like one side, the left side's got to benefit with this, or you don't get this, or the right side's got to benefit with this, and you don't get this. It's not about you guys, you know, it's about the people. And that's what's written. That's the first line of the Constitution. We the people.
That's right.
You know, it's not about your guys' differences. I don't care if you hate the president or you like the I don't care. You know, it's about the people. You know, it's not about you.
You know,
You know, and it's going to be like that forever.
I tell people I am not a prejudiced person. Some of my best friends are Houston Texans fans, so you know.
Yeah. Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah. You get oh no, you're not. You're in Austin, so you're not down by LeBrock and Lovett and all that down there.
No. We're mid part of Texas.
Oh, okay.
Texas. Yeah.
All right.
We're about, I guess we're about 2.5, 3 hours from Dallas, about 3.5 hours from Houston.
You ever get down to New Orleans to do anything?
I have been through New Orleans. We haven't done any investigations there, but my wife is from kind of close to Morgan City. So if you're familiar with that part of Louisiana.
Yeah. We're right now we're looking into the Waverly Place right now.
Oh yeah.
Hillview, looking into that one right now. The original Conjuring House up in Rhode Island, we're looking into that one. But the only downfall on that one is that the owners of it now are a paranormal team that own it now. They want to turn it into a tourist attraction.
Of course.
And start charging people and start charging paranormal teams and stuff like that to go in there to do investigations, which with something that iconic, I don't agree with it. You know, you shouldn't do that, you know. And Ohio State Penitentiary is locked in for next fall for us.
Oh, that's cool. You'll like it.
Yeah, so we're gonna go there.
Be safe.
Yeah, and then Gettysburg is locked in for us already.
Nice.
We just got to get the dates and everything, and I got to give them to my contact up there. So I ran into a really good contact up there that I met on social media that does ghost tours on Gettysburg.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so she was able to hook it up. All I got to do is give her the dates. So hopefully when the cold weather goes away into spring, summertime, you know, we'll get up there and do the house, do the orphanage, you know, do a little bit of the battlefield and stuff like that. You know, so we're gonna be fortunate enough to get in there. But I'm not too concerned about big places. I want to do them, you know, but I like doing first time places, abandoned houses, abandoned buildings, you know, stuff like that, stuff that no one's never done. And so we can put our footmark on there and be the first to do it and stuff like that. Yeah. So that's what our company's mostly based around, is first timers.
Yeah, I spent my honeymoon at the Ohio State Reformatory.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Slept there and everything?
We didn't sleep there. We actually were in a hotel not too far from there.
Yeah.
But they had an event and we got to meet Steve and Tango and Dustin and Amy Allen was there.
Yeah, I've never got to meet any of them before. I would love to do, you know, an investigation with people like that, just because they have the experience.
Yeah.
And I can learn from them. You know, I don't want to be on TV or anything like that. You know, I care less about that. But just, you know, I'd love to get a DM one time and be like, hey, come join us. You know, this is where we're going to be.
Yeah.
You know, type of thing. You know, and just learn from them. You know, I wouldn't mind. You know, any of those paranormal teams whether it's Ghost Adventures, Ghost Nation, whatever, you can learn something from them,
Yeah.
because they've been in it for so long. They got the experience. But I think with Jason and Tango and all them, they're probably, I'd say they're the godfathers of the reality part of it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But then if you want to go back further, you got Ed and Lorraine,
Yeah.
that are the true pioneers, of paranormal. But in today's paranormal, I would honestly, I would give it to Jason and Grant and, the original Taps and everybody like that,
Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us and for taking time out of your day to listen to these guys, and for you guys to take time out of your day to talk to me. Very much appreciate it. And I look forward to hearing more about y'all's investigations, and I really would like for y'all to come back.
Oh yeah, we definitely will come back.
Paw boy.
Thank you for joining us on Into the Pit. Please follow us on Facebook at the Vibes Broadcast Network and Instagram at the Vibes Broadcast.